The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to the Arise to Success show where we aim to highlight inspiring individuals and their journeys to success. I'm your host in this show, my name is Gehad. Throughout the show, dear listeners, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to send them at 0779 481822. Our guest today is Zhagum, who is a CEO, offshoring, innovator, and entrepreneurial mentor. He's an experienced businessman with 15 years of experience in ecommerce, offshoring, marketing, and IT services. His professional journey has taken him across the dynamic landscape of both the UK and Pakistan, navigating him into diverse business sectors. As a passionate entrepreneur across multiple sectors, his journey is deeply rooted in Islamic values, driving his mission to bring about positive change. From humble beginnings, his entrepreneurial mindset is powered by a dedication to community empowerment and the aspiration to inspire a life of purpose. Zhagum's dedication extends to making a positive impact in the community. His extensive volunteering experience includes business mentoring and active involvement in local projects such as homeless feeds and dawah teams in Birmingham. This commitment to community service reflects his belief in the significance of giving back and building meaningful connections. Zhagum, it's an honor to have you with us today and welcome to the Arise to Success show. How are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah, Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for having me.
Wa alaikum assalam. And apologies, I had to message you just like a few seconds before the show saying that the mic is making noise. It sounds all good now, so jazakallah khair. So Zhagum, mashallah, it's your background, mashallah, you've got amazing background there. And I thought, I've got a lot of questions prepared for you, but I thought to start with, if you can tell us a bit more about your business journey and how it all started.
Sure. So about 15 years ago, my wife and I started an e-commerce company from the loft of a house at the time, and it was bedding and duvet covers and products like this that we sold online, and we started that company with £200. So we went and bought some products. We put them in the loft of our house, which is our company still called Loft 25 after Loft and the number of the house. And that's where we started out. And then over the years, we vertically integrated. We went into manufacturing, and then we moved that manufacturing over to Pakistan. And then we set up distribution in the Netherlands, which distributes around Europe for us, and in the UK. So we're based in Birmingham.
MashaAllah. And I didn't realize that the name came from that. It's such amazing, subhanAllah, because when I was speaking to Maylin, who introduced us, and when she mentioned Love 25, I was like, I wonder what that is. And subhanAllah, it's amazing to have the understanding behind the name, which is great, subhanAllah. And sometimes, it's these beginnings that we never forget and we always refer back to, and we know where it started from. And alhamdulillah, we thank Allah for what we've done, where we started. And mashallah, it's amazing work that you're doing. And I know we had a quick chat before the radio show some time ago, and I was amazed by the kind of stories that you've shared, and the fact that it's all based on Islamic roots and the struggles we can go through that sometimes. But keeping it halal, subhanAllah, brings a lot of barakah and a lot of rizq, mashallah. So, talking about the Islamic rootings, as your entrepreneurial journey, mashallah, is deepened in Islamic values, could you tell us a bit more about this and how important it is to have this in our business and in our lives?
So, we talked about this, at length before, and, the Islamic values is the reason to do this. And if you're just pursuing business just for the sake of making money, that's what the rest of the world does. As Muslims, we need to be striving for more than that. And we can embody our Islamic values within our business life if we're just true to them. And will it be easy? And I always, say this to people starting out. It's not going to be easy, but that's not, the criteria by which we measure, the values that we have to uphold. So for example, our company being riba free is a huge struggle. It's never been easy. We've been expanding in different countries. We employ hundreds of people. None of that was easy. It was, sometimes, I've had to go out to borrow a little bit of money. And people look at you as like, you're running this quite large company, and you need to borrow like this amount from me. And you're like, well, yeah, I do, because we don't go to the banks, we don't have mortgages, we don't have loans. And I mentioned to you, that how my riba-free journey started was when, I'm not engaged in it already, but I wanted to buy a house, and then my kids were growing up, and I thought I need to get a house in an area that they're going to get the right catchments for their schools. And so my wife and I had selected a house, and we thought, okay, we're going to buy this place. And I went to my accountant, who was Muslim, and I said, look, I need to take out quite a large mortgage. And he said, Zhagum, what are you doing? You don't do this. You've not done it to date. Why are you going to do it now? And I said, I've got no choice. I've got to go and get this, house. And he said, look, why can't you rent? And I was like, nobody rents. You don't rent. You don't, if everybody buys a house. And he was like, well, if you want to hold on to your values, then why can't you rent? And I came home thinking my wife's going to be really angry, and she's going to not be impressed by this, new direction. And I said, look, I don't think it's the right thing. And she said, I'm feeling the exact same thing. And I said, okay, so what should we do? We need to be in a certain area, so we'll rent. And I rang up the agent. I was telling this story to someone, quite big in property the other day. And I rang up the agent and I said, it's the best house in Birmingham, in that area, and he went, oh, I've got this huge house. It's got loads of rooms. It's on a private road. It's like, a mansion, right? For someone like me, that was like, really aspirational. He was like, and this is the rent. And I was like, okay, that's not that bad. I can actually rent out my current house. I could top it up a little bit, and I can have this place. So we had the best of the best. We lived in this place that you could play football in the front room, and it was just fantastic, right? Like for a good few years, and then we thought we don't need something this big, so we downsized, right? In later years. But then the barakah that comes from following your Islamic values is huge, right? We underestimate that often, and in business it was the same. We took the hard route often. But we had to be really frugal with the money we had. We had to make the right choices. We didn't have money to waste. And so what would happen? You would always do things in the best, most economical, frugal way possible, which led to a better business, in all likelihood. So you stick to Islam, and Allah opens doors that you never thought possible. And then people gravitate towards you, the people who work with us. I mean, just one of the barakahs has been the loyalty we get from the people who work with us. And often, I'm the first to go home, and they're all still here. I'm actually at work at the moment, and I can see that, there's lots of people still around, and I'm like, well, why haven't they gone home yet? Because they work harder in our businesses than I do. And why is that? And that's one of the barakahs that Allah gives you when you uphold Islamic values. And just one thing on that is, like understanding the risk. Allah's going to give you what He's already determined, and you can take it through illegitimate means, or you can take it through the means that He's guided us with. And the choice is always there, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's going to be a bit harder this way, but you do it the right thing, and lots of good things happen. But your risk was the same. It was going to happen anyway, but you just were maybe impatient, or, you took a cut to it, which is not the way to do it, right? We need to be fighting the good fight. Means you come to work every day, believing that, in Allah's bounty, having tawakkul means that we believe that we'll get through whatever difficulty comes our way. And I don't want to sugarcoat the fact that the business is easy. It's not. It's really difficult. But then that's okay, because you come in every day with the mindset of, Allah's decreed what He's going to give me. I've got to come out and just make sure I create the channels for it to come to me. And so you go and you dig, and and you keep working, and it's Allah who's going to give you what He's going to give you. It's not going to be you and your mind and efforts, even though you might think it is. It's not, right. So why compromise Islam then in that? And in the current climate, people are talking about starting their own businesses because they feel disillusioned and they feel they can't be themselves and they can't raise their voices. On for example, at the moment, and so then the duty falls to people like us then more, because we are able to do that, and if anything, we can inspire more people to come into business and then help them on that journey. So for me, the Islamic values is the whole reason to be doing it. It's why I put in the extra effort, because there's the minimum, and you get more comfortable as you get older. But I probably work harder now than I did when I was in my 20s.
MashaAllah. And you also touched upon a quite an important topic here, where that loyalty, when you're providing that the Islamic roots in the environment around you, that loyalty, and I can completely relate to this. When I work in places where I feel that I can be loyal to them, I would put more effort, right? Whereas if I don't feel that my efforts are even appreciated, it's like, why even be here?
Yeah.
And that happens quite a lot. So that loyalty, mashallah, is quite important there. And the Islamic values you've mentioned is very, very important. And riba, just to translate riba, is interest that we're referring to here. And the Quran is mentioned that if we have riba interest, that's like having a war in Allah. So, and his Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so it's very, very important. It's like basically chasing something in life that you'll never achieve. So it's a really, really important areas that you talked about there, mashallah. So jazakallah khair. And I'm just going to quickly remind our dear listeners, just in case anybody joined us a bit later, that we have Zhagum with us on the show today, who is a CEO, offshoring innovator, and entrepreneurial mentor. As a passionate entrepreneur across multiple sectors, his journey is deeply rooted. I think I'm being okay. Hopefully it's fine now. I heard myself echoing. His journey is deeply rooted in Islamic values, driving his mission to bring about positive change. And from humble beginnings, his entrepreneurial mindset is powered by a dedication to community empowerment and the aspiration to inspire a life of purpose. Dear listeners, anybody who's got any questions, please feel free, questions or comments, feel free to send them on 07779 481822. So just talking about here the mindset, the entrepreneurial mindset powered by a dedication to community empowerment and the aspiration to inspire a life of purpose. I would love to know a little bit more about that. I'm not, can you hear echoing as well?
There was some echo there.
I'm not sure what's going on. I'm going to check with the team, but hopefully that should be all right, inshallah, now. So yeah, if you can tell us a bit more about this entrepreneurial mindset, Zhagum.
So some of us are kind of like very kind of natural entrepreneurs. We're kind of, born with it, and and it kind of it's where we automatically go. And so I've just come back from a huge factory, in Telford, that closed recently, and I don't want to expand my manufacturing right now, and it's not really where I want to be going, but I was just like walking around and my mind's working like, at speed, thinking, we could start this, we could do that, we could buy this machine, we could buy this plant. It just comes very naturally to some. But the thing is, what do you use it for? And I struggled with this because we live in a capitalist society. So what does that tell us to do? It tells us, there's like the hustle culture. That is, kind of make as much money as possible so we can retire to some beach somewhere at some point, is the kind of the dream that we're sold. What does that mean for Muslims? And what does that mean for me? It's been a journey to get here, but like I see it as a life of purpose is what I need to be leading. I need to be inspiring others to be able to do the same, because there's no point dying the richest person in the graveyard. That's not what Allah put us here for. And I was having this discussion with a young professional just yesterday, and we were exactly going through this. That yes, he was saying, well, should I be ambitious? I was like, yeah, I totally get that. Like, I'm ambitious. I always have been. But for what end? Because if the end is I make as much money and accumulate as much property as possible, as a lot of our South Asian families have been teaching us, make as much money as possible, buy some property, and then what? Because then you can take it easy. But then Allah didn't make me for that. Allah didn't create me to get to this earth, accumulate as much wealth as possible, and then take it easy. That's not a life of purpose. If our purpose is to please our Creator, then we use business for that. We use our voice for that. We use all our resources for that. Our mind should be dedicated to it. In whichever field in which we operate, we need to be striving to please our Creator. What does that mean for a business person? It could be then what you do with your business, or what you do with the money that your business generates, or in the way you conduct yourself. Because when we do business with non-Muslims, we're ambassadors for our entire faith. So we have to bear that in mind, right? Like, sometimes, like I just mentioned, I went to see this machinery. I'm a fairly good negotiator. I could negotiate further than I did. And I thought, like, I'm going to stop now because I think I'm taking advantage of that situation. I'm just going to leave it. It's okay. I think I've got quite a fair deal. And I told him so. I said, look, my faith dictates that we treat people, fairly. And I know a bit about your situation. And I think, let's claw back a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's agree on the following price. And he was really shocked. He was like, why are you, leaving money on the table now? And I was like, well, here's why. Because we don't do money. We don't do business for money's sake. That's not the point. We're seeking out that Allah's decreed for us. So it's a great dawah opportunity, right? That I just got with somebody that, maybe I wouldn't have otherwise. So I get to use my business for that. I get to do good with it. Just if you have the intentionality behind it and think every day is a dawah opportunity, every day is an opportunity to do good. And if all Muslim businesses think like that, for me, that's like how we should be countering capitalism in our mindsets. It shouldn't just be its pursuit, because that's never ending. It will never end till your grave. We'll keep going. Instead, we can do so much more if we just have this kind of abundance mindset of there's lots of things Allah's going to give me. There's lots of things for me to pursue, but let me make it into an ibadah, because that's within my means to do so. It's not so hard.
And I love that, Zhagum, and the fact that you actually talked about this, it's something that I really appreciate, because it's something that we forget to do when it comes to dealing with money or dealing, with business and so on. And then it gives this reputation that, all Muslims are like that, right? Because then people look at it as more of a, as a whole thing rather than as an individual thing. And I loved how you actually, using that as a form of dawah, because when you said to actually implement that in our business, I was like, okay, can you give us some tips? And before I even asked that, you mentioned how you actually implement that to dawah, in how you're dealing with others, Muslims and non-Muslims, and how that can be a form of dawah for non-Muslims. And you never know, maybe it can be the reason for somebody becoming a Muslim, subhanAllah, and then inshallah, you get the rewards for that. So that's amazing, mashallah. So yes, I'm glad that you actually spoke about this point. Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah, we've got some time before the break, so I wanted to speak a little bit about your other projects that you have. Your projects in general in business. One of them is called the Try VA. So if you can tell us a bit more about this project and the benefits of how it benefits, the community in Pakistan. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Is it Gujarat?
Gojra,
yeah. I wasn't sure, so I'll let you speak more about it.
I'm sure you'll have some listeners from there, but the community in Gojra it's my father's hometown, and my father left that town in 1979, and so I've always had this thinking that we have a debt to this place that our forefathers left, and to build a better life. And so I visit, and when I went into manufacturing, I set up a factory there, and I employed a lot of people. but those jobs were low paid, and they're not changing lives in the way I wanted. Because yes, it's a provision of employment, but then it's a very competitive industry in textile manufacturing, and so you're not going to get huge life-changing jobs created. What does create those jobs is tech skills. So I thought, okay, what kind of skills can I easily create, by just building a small academy, training, 10, 15 people at a time, and building up the skills that businesses in the UK need. And that's where the TryVA company came from. So it's only about a year old. And in that time, we've reached 120 people employed by that company who are hired out to companies in the UK. And they bring a mix of skills, whatever businesses need. It could be data entry, it could be video editing, graphic design, it could be lots of ecommerce market specializations. So we give them as a team of 3 from that business, which we call a pod, and then companies take a pod with a mix of skills. So they might take one Amazon person, someone does their Google ads, someone who does their graphic design, and that's their little team, that's their back office. What it does there, though, is what's really interesting, because now you're empowering 120 households who live from the income. And as those skills improve, they get closer and closer to UK salaries, which is my dream. I want them to be able to earn a UK level salary because their skills are so good, but yet live in their hometown with their families in their natural environment, and not have to do what our fathers did, and not have to leave and seek employment around the world. We can create that without too much investment and effort. It doesn't take a lot. It takes a will. And for my town, I thought, okay, that's going to be me, so I'm going to have the will to create it. And if Allah, supports our mission, what will happen? It will inspire other people to do it. And not just in our town, in other towns, they'll think, oh, good, why don't I set up a back office there, start creating employment? And then, I meet great people like, the sister Maylene who introduced us is one such person. She was like, I'd love to mentor some of the women in the business there. And I was like, that's exactly what I need. I need inspirational people like her to mentor young ladies in our town who have been told historically that they can't amount to much. There aren't any job opportunities. We're one of the few employers in our town of women. And we created separate spaces for them. We have prayer spaces. We maintain the environment in a way that it's conducive to STEM lifestyle, and they're able to come in and earn a living. And there are many people who are divorced, who are widows, and in these small towns, they are highly marginalized. Whereas what did it take for us to empower them? It took an office and an academy. And this was something that, I wanted to take to a level where if we can take it to 1,000 people employed, that's 1,000 families who earn their living internationally. And they're bringing that money into the local economy. They're very empowered by it. And that's like the inspiration behind TryVA. So, that's a company that's very close to my heart. I spend a lot of time and effort on it because I really want to create those opportunities out there. It resonates with me just so much more because those jobs are really appreciated and they're really meaningful. And as those skill levels improve, what happens? People teach their sisters and their brothers the same skills. They teach people in their area. They start their own academies. They start their own companies, which is something I always love to see. So that's where TryVA is going at the moment.
Mashallah, that's amazing, and you're not just looking at business as a way of making money, but as how you can provide opportunities to others as well. So it's amazing, and what I love about this as well is the barakah it can go in that business and in that money, from just not viewing it as a business, but also as an opportunity to help others. That drives that money to them and to your business, inshallah. So that's very powerful.
I totally see that, like every day. Baraka is something that I think you have to experience to really appreciate it. And how do you experience it? You've got to put yourself in the environment in which it can be given to you. And when it is, you don't have any doubt about it anymore. Baraka is going to carry me through whatever I intend, because you make an intent. I go into some industries and sectors that I know nothing about, and I'm like, how can I survive in this space, right? It's Baraka that's going to carry me, because Allah will send me the people I need. I believe that really strongly. So I'll go into a new skill set area and I'll be like, okay, I have nobody. I'm going to Pakistan, later this week, and I'm going to start a new department. And I know just in the trip that Allah will send me who I need. I really believe it. And I'm just going there with this open mind of like, right, that's fine. I'm just going to go there and kind of plant my flag of like, we're starting, full stack development. And Allah send me exactly who I need, right? And I'm gonna then new department, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to the Rise to Success show. We have Zhagum with us on the show today, who is a CEO, offshoring innovator and entrepreneurial mentor. He's an experienced businessman with 15 years of expertise in e-commerce, offshoring, marketing and IT services. His professional journey has taken him across the dynamic landscapes of both the UK and Pakistan, navigating him into diverse business sectors. As a passionate entrepreneur across multiple sectors, his journey is deeply rooted in Islamic values, driving his mission to bring about positive change. From humble beginnings, his entrepreneurial mindset is powered by a dedication to community empowerment and the aspiration to inspire a life of purpose. Zhagum's dedication extends to making a positive impact in the community. His extensive volunteering experience includes business mentoring and active involvement in local projects such as homeless feeds and dawah teams in Birmingham. This commitment to community service reflects his belief in the significance of giving back and building meaningful connections. Dear listeners, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to send them on 0779 948 1822. Sincere apologies to your listeners for the echoing. I'm not sure what's going on there. Some of my shows are virtual, so I don't know what's going on with echoing, but inshallah we're working to fix that. Zhagum, back to yourself, and apologies, I went slightly over before the break as well, but mashallah, you share quite really interesting things. And we were talking just before the break about the Try VA projects that you have and what you intend to do with that, and how that mashallah helps your business, as well as giving opportunity to so many people. How mashallah your intention is to help, inshallah 1,000, inshallah more than that, of people back home, inshallah, that can provide that support to others and can start their own projects and their own businesses as well, inshallah. So may Allah put lots of barakah in your business, inshallah, and may Allah make this a means of inspiration to others as well, inshallah. There are other projects that you do, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about what inspired the idea for Cloud Surge and what motivated you to start a venture in a sector you were unfamiliar with. So maybe if you can tell us a little bit more about it, and inshallah if you can answer that question. Jazakallah khair.
Sure. So Cloud Surge is a company which is beyond my tech skills, and I'm a technophobe. I have to call somebody in to help me print something out. So that's my kind of level these days. But I wanted to go into the tech sector because it would create really high-paying jobs in our small town and across small towns in Pakistan. I think there's a whole sector of talent which is underutilized. And women form a big part of that. They're not really allowed to leave their towns and go and work in bigger cities in a conservative culture. That's not really how things are done in small town Pakistan. So we wanted to bring the opportunities to them, and so I co-founded the company with a good friend. His name's Ilyas Khan, and we met during COVID, and that's a story hopefully we'll get time to discuss today. But he wanted to do something for his town, which is Swabi, and I wanted to do something for my town, which is Gojra. And so we co-founded a company, and we built an academy for that, and it teaches Microsoft Dynamics and Power Platform, and then we hire out teams to Microsoft practices across the UK. So that they are able to deliver more projects, and we specialize these days in AI transformation for companies, and so that's created the kind of the highest paid jobs in our town. So it's very aspirational in how that works, and we wanted to kind of set an example of like what's possible. People have not heard of these kind of sectors before, so we wanted to kind of bring that to them. And one of the first people trained in that. He has a really inspirational story. He was someone who worked from the age of 8 to support his family, working in street side restaurants to support his mum because their father had left, and the mother wanted to go and work in people's houses. And he said, look, let me go and help you to, raise the family. And so this kid works in, street side restaurants, and he puts himself through education, and mashallah, he's highly intelligent. He ends up getting a degree in computer science. And when I met him, he was working in a field and crops after graduating, when his fellow students had told me that he's the best in that batch. And I thought, well, why is he doing that? And he was like, well, there are no jobs. There's no jobs, for people with those tech skills in those small towns. So he was the first person we trained, and today, he's a successful functional consultant with CloudSurge, and that story for us inspires the whole journey of this again and again. We can do this all over Pakistan, and the dream for CloudSurge is to have offices across small towns in the Muslim world, where we can start off with an academy and a small office, and with remote working, everything's possible because people are working from home everywhere. People are offshoring so many of their office functions. So why not then the high-end tech skills that can be quite specialist, but we can bring in Muslims from around the world to train each other and to bring those skills into areas where they don't exist. Because that level of income really makes a big difference. Other people are then inspired to take it up. And we wanted that to happen. That's what CloudSurge is all about.
That's amazing, mashallah. And I remember you shared the story with me, and I was like, prior to the work to the show today, and I was like, wow, subhanallah, it's like, this person there needed that help, you are here, that you can provide that help, and how Allah subhanallah put that together. And it's when you have a good intention, subhanallah, how Allah makes things happen so easily, and it helps you, it helps them, subhanallah. So may Allah make.
So I just add that. Sorry to cut you off, but that it's such a privilege that, and people think that well, you're doing something good. You're not. You're doing your duty. It's a privilege that Allah allows you to be the means by which this happens, and it's very humbling. It's like probably the most emotional I get is when Allah uses us to do something, and you think, wow, I get to do something, and like who am I? And it's an amazing feeling, and I really sincerely make dua that Allah lets us all experience that, because once you've had the taste of being used in that path, you want it all the time. You think, what, Allah, please utilize me in good in some way.
Ameen, subhanallah. It's beautiful, inshallah. It's inspiring to all those who are listening to us as well, inshallah. So jazakallah khair for sharing that. Another one of your latest ventures as well is GP Triage. Is that right? If you can tell us a bit more about that as well.
Sure. So GP Triage is born from the fact that we have these tech skills in the Muslim world that are underutilized, and so solve real world problems that we are seeing. So the 8 o'clock appointment problem in the UK for GP surgeries is probably something every listener has experienced. So we know it's really difficult to get through. You can't get an appointment, and so there's, like I said, there's great talent in the Muslim world. It's just not being brought to bear. And we presented this problem because we know we've got family members who are GPs, we've got lots of friends who are GPs, and they're telling us, like, they're frustrated by it. Patients are frustrated by it. I haven't been to the GP in years because it's too difficult. And so we asked the tech teams there to solve this problem. And they managed to use really advanced AI developed by Microsoft to triage patients via the surgery's website, to, based on their clinical needs, book them directly into the GP's diary, after asking them a whole series of AI-generated questions to work out exactly what's wrong with them, how urgently they need to be seen, cross-referencing that with their patient record to be able to ascertain who's the most important patient to be seen today. So the GPs then prioritize who's really needs to be seen first, and then second and third, and that's all automated. And we offer that to GP surgeries around the UK. And all of that was born from the tech teams that we developed in Pakistan. And so, the GP triage company is co-founded with myself and Dr. Hanan Chaudhry, and we're out in the market right now, demoing that to lots of GPs, and practices and PCNs around the country. So you can solve real world problems with the resources that the Muslim world possesses. That was the thing I wanted to achieve from this, was to be able to show that, we have great solutions to modern problems.
I love that. I didn't know there was a solution, so I'm glad that you've actually mentioned it, because when I read that, I was like, what is that? So subhanAllah, and the fact that you utilize the skills of the people there to help them, mashallah, and to bring the solution to here, it's, mashallah, it's like great thinking. So well done for doing something, and mashallah, all the other ideas that you've had as well. But this is something that we clearly are suffering from here in the UK, in terms of, because I would spend days and days and days making an appointment. And now I don't even bother making an appointment with the GP. It's like, okay, let me just go to the herbal side of things and forget about the GP.
No, we all feel this, right? So send by all means, send your GP over to us, and we'll get their surgery AI automated.
That should be the case. Well, I've left them now, so I went to something better, alhamdulillah. But that's great, mashallah. I hope, inshallah, more, those who are listening, inshallah, can support as well yourself and their GPs as well with something like that can bring solution to the GP and utilize the skill of the people, mashallah, who are in need of that help and who have the skills to provide that help as well, inshallah. So that's amazing. Jazakallah khair for that. I'm just going to quickly remind our dear listeners, just in case anybody joined us a bit later, that we have Zhagum with us on the show today, who is a CEO, offshoring innovator, and entrepreneurial mentor. As a passionate entrepreneur across multiple sectors, his journey is deeply rooted in Islamic values, driving his mission to bring about positive change. From humble beginnings, his entrepreneurial mindset is powered by dedication to community empowerment and the aspiration to inspire a life of purpose. Dear listeners, any questions for Zhagum or any comments about anything that has been mentioned, please feel free to send them an 0779 481822. So, mashallah, Zhagum, a lot of the, all the things that you've shared are very, very inspirational, mashallah. I would like to talk a little bit more about your volunteering experience as well, which includes business mentoring and active involvement in local projects such as homeless feeds and dawah teams. It seems like, mashallah, you are already busy with so much, mashallah, but you're not neglecting the volunteering aspect of things. So please tell us more about that.
My volunteering journey is an interesting one. I didn't do a lot until I went on Hajj, and on Hajj I was sitting in Mina, and the person next to me, who I still don't know who they were, said to me, Allah's given you a skill, and I said, well, what is it? And they'd been observing me for a few days, and they said, you are able to bring people together, and you have that ability. But he said to me, something I've never forgotten. He said, but I bet you've never used it for good.
Oh wow, subhanAllah.
And I was like, first a bit kind of, taken aback by where you don't know me. But I was like, you're actually right. I don't think I have. I've used it for business, and I've used it for, my career in that sense, but for good, how do you do that? And what do you advise me to do? I asked him, and he said, go back to your town, wherever you're from, and pick a problem and make it your problem.
Wow. SubhanAllah.
When I came back, I looked around and I went around different places and said, like, how can I help? Could I come and paint your tuition center? Could I, volunteer in your fundraising, project? And then I came across a homeless charity in Birmingham by the name of Asufa, and I volunteered there. And that kind of was the start of my volunteering journey, because I met great people. Because who volunteers? Good people volunteer, so you end up making great friends. It's you mix in the right sectors of society, because those are the best of the best, and so you make great friends, and you then hear about other things, and you get involved in those, and one thing leads to another, and you end up in lots of projects. And so I ended up on one of the Dawah teams, and because of this, and that's where I met them from, and so you end up getting involved in the right things in your town, in your city. You should be at the forefront as a Muslim. If you're not involved, and you're not, to be seen in the problems of your area, then you're not fulfilling what Muslims are supposed to be doing. We should be using, our voices. We should be, using our hands to go and solve problems, right? We should be involved. We must be at the forefront, surely. Isn't that what our duties are? And then, because we come from that immigrant mindset, we came here to make a life. But then us as the next generation, we're now putting down the roots of, well, let's build institutions and let's actually serve society, because that's what Muslims do. When my uncle first came to this country, he always said, my grandfather said to him, you're an ambassador for your people. When they do something good, all Muslims will be good. But when they see you do something bad, all Muslims are bad. And he taught me this. And something I've always tried to live by, that we must be exemplary. No matter what happens. I remember once I bought a jacket from a shop and some other clothes, and I walked out of the shop and I thought, I don't think they've charged me the right money. I recalculated and they just missed this jacket off completely. And I walked back in and said to him, like, you didn't charge me for this jacket. And the guy just looked at me like, this guy's stupid. Why is he back in to have to pay all this money now for this jacket when he'd got away, he'd left? And again, like I was saying, that opportunity, right? Why do I do this? Allah's watching me. Your jacket is worth nothing, right? What's it called? My standing before my Creator is everything. So, same way, when we volunteer and we get involved in things, there's loads of benefits for us in and of themselves. But you do get to make the best friends, and you meet really good people. But then you also are serving, your community, which you must be doing. You can't shy away from it. You can't hide and say there's a lot of problems in society. When people tell me, society's really going downhill and the youth are going downhill, then the natural question is, so what are you doing about it?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing anything, then literally you shouldn't even complain then.
Yeah.
But you must step out and say, okay, what's the bit I can do? And you often can't do a lot, but you can do your bit, and it all adds up and counts, right? It makes for a better world. That's, my feelings on volunteering. And as a business person, what's the things I can probably have most impact on? I can mentor people to come into business. I can teach them the mistakes I've made, and they can learn from those. I can open up internships in my company. That doesn't cost me anything. I can have people always here on work experience. We had two twin sisters in today doing work experience with us, and that just makes me happy. I'm like, I walked in and I thought, okay, so new people on work experience, what can we inspire them with? Girls, what are you interested in? Our whole company is open to you. What do you want to learn? You want to learn marketing? Go and sit with that department. You want to learn product design? Come with me. If we want to, work on anything that we do, is open to you, because our responsibility is to our society and to our community, and say, look, anything that we've got is yours. Come and learn from us. If you want to learn e-commerce, come and sit in my office. I'm like, what does that cost me? A desk and a chair. And you get to absorb kind of everything going on around you and learn the processes. I have no fear of someone's going to learn this. I want them to learn, and they might what I do, go ahead. You can't reduce my risk by one pence. You can't reduce it. You can't increase it either. So then why should I be afraid of opening our business up? And imagine if all Muslim businesses were that open, we'd end up not being the most deprived, in society as a community. We'd be the most successful because we empower each other. It doesn't take a lot, but it takes some people to kind of set that example and then other people to learn from it and do the same.
Absolutely. Inshallah, that can inspire others, inshallah, to do the same as you mentioned, because the support that you are giving, it's not just helping individuals, but it is helping the whole of the Muslim community, inshallah. So, as you said, if each one of us do our bit, because if it's only one person, one person is thinking that way, other people will be thinking that way and we do our bit. But then I feel like sometimes the opposite happens. As you said, it's like, well, if nobody's doing anything, what am I going to do, right? But then if we will have that mentality, nobody's going to make any difference. But if we have the mentality that let me start and do my part, and if each one of us thinking like this, then together, inshallah, we all can make a difference. So jazakallah khair for that. And in terms of the thing that we actually touched upon a little bit earlier, which is in 2020, where you organised one of the largest volunteer-led campaigns, gathering over 900 volunteers to support the NHS during the critical time of COVID. So if you can tell us a bit more about this and why is volunteering and we talked a little bit about why volunteering and giving back to the community is important as part of our life. If you can tell us a bit more about that and the NHS experience that you've had during COVID.
COVID was like a testing time for everybody, and we were positioned by in a really good way that we had manufacturing facilities, but we had to close them when COVID the first lockdown started. But on the first day of the lockdown in March 2020, a doctor came to my house and had heard of me from someone else and had come to my house and said, we're wearing bin bags to protect ourselves and do something like, could you make us something? And I thought, okay, if anyone can, then we can. So, okay, how do we do it? But we couldn't employ sewing machinists in tight, in constrained spaces. So I went to the local masjid. Green Lane Masjid is a very active masjid in Birmingham, and I said, look, I need volunteers. And so they put out a call, and we ended up getting 900 people who volunteered to use their sewing machines at home to sew PPE coveralls that the hospitals wanted. So we ended up running this huge campaign where we were donating the fabric and cutting it and delivering it to people's homes. They were sewing it for us and sending it back, and then we were donating it to the local hospitals, to the funeral services, to care homes, to any GP surgeries, anyone who needed it. We were just donating all the way through the lockdowns. So we got to meet hundreds of people. We got to engage with all different communities. We helped the Jewish care homes up and down the country with PPE. Even the film industry, we donated to them because camera people couldn't operate. They needed to have PPE, and PPE was in such short supply. So we got to do great things, and one of the best kind of things that came from it. So many good things. I could talk all day about that. About lives, and one of the greatest things was the NHS approached us and said, "Could you help us construct a campaign like this?" And so they took my daughter, Afreen, who's probably listening, and they took her, as their youngest employee in the NHS at the time. She just finished her GCSEs, and so she was like, she had to get special permission to employ her. She led a team of 1,500 volunteers working with the NHS, and she ran a whole team. Directors, and I'd go into meetings sometimes, and she'd be there, with a conference table full of middle-aged men, telling them how to run their campaign, which inspired her. And she's at university at the moment, just about to go into an encampment tonight, and so she's now active in society because of all of this, and she saw that anything is achievable. That was literally like a side benefit of the fact that you're doing good things, and so your children are inspired, people in society around you are inspired. And it was just, again, like I was saying before, volunteering and being able to help, it's all a privilege that we had the means and we could, and so we did. And, and we can always look back our entire lives and go, well, when everyone was locked up at home, we got to do good things. And as Muslims, we were able to represent our faith and say, this is why we do it. And I met all the people who were giving out food and who were, for those few weeks of the first lockdown, all you saw on the streets of Birmingham were Muslims who were all out there doing good.
Sure.
And it was a beautiful feeling, I will always remember it fondly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember at that time, subhanAllah, I was like, it brought the good things out of people, mashallah, helping and supporting, which is amazing. I really loved what you said about your daughter being a young leader there and how that led to her to where she is now, mashallah. Maybe if we can talk for like a minute or two or a minute and a half before the end of the show about the importance of involving the young people in such projects and creating those young leaders.
Absolutely. Look, we've got to inspire them to be able to do now much more than we've been able to do ourselves. We spent most of our lives, and I did very personally, I spent a large proportion of my life pursuing success for success's sake, because that's what we're taught to do. And so now what do we say to our next generation? We want them to pursue purpose. When my daughters, decide on their career paths and say, look, what should we be doing? My advice to them is do something that's going to please Allah, and that's going to make you happy doing it. Don't worry about the financial aspect of it. Gone are the days when we were all told to be doctors and engineers. That's not what we now say to our kids. We want them to pursue purpose, their unique ability, just as much as exactly as you are doing, is you're using your unique ability to further the ummah. And what is that like? You identify it. It took you a lifetime to exactly realize that, okay, this is what I'm good at. And I'm
sorry, Zhagum. 10 seconds, sorry.
Okay, sorry. So we must allow them to do whatever they want to pursue. And I think that is important for us to open those gateways for them and inspire them.
Absolutely. Jazakallah khair. It has been a great pleasure having you today.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.